I'm Carolyn Kastner. I'm curator at the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This work by Georgia O'Keeffe, it's an extraordinary work because it is painted from a scene that's very nearby. It's about an hour from the museum, and driving up there is an extraordinary trip up along the Rio Grande River. And it's one of the few places in that part of the country where you can see green trees growing so thickly as they do at the bottom of the painting here. But it's been a mystery to us to find out how exactly and where exactly she painted it. And on a second occasion of going up there, we got access to the historic property where she painted it, and she painted it from a second-story window. Finally, we figured out how did she see this perspective, because we kept looking, but we couldn't see this. And one of the things that I've learned about O'Keeffe is she's much more literal than we all imagine, because she's so reductive in her abstractions of the landscape that you think sometimes she makes things up, but she never does. And she may take something out, she may shift the color, but the topography is always very accurate. So when we got upstairs, there was the whole layout of that horizon, the river that starts down below all the way into the distance to the Black Mesa, which is part of the title, out back of Marie's. And when you look at those mountains in a certain position, they all line up just the way they do in this painting. And recently, I was at the wedding of our archivist for the museum, and I did one of those things that O'Keeffe fans are always doing in our museum, and I just took a deep breath and thought, oh my God, I see exactly what she saw. Because just at twilight, everything turned very sharp. And so the red was really bright, the blue popped out, and the black mountain beyond. So it was an amazing experience. But again, I have to gather myself as an art historian and remember, this is a composite of how she felt about that environment, and she's putting all this together, and she's informing how I look out on that landscape. So I had this event that was just extraordinary in looking at this, because it's a place that she painted many, many times, more than a dozen times, trying to get it right. This is O'Keeffe's design for the frame, and also a brief foray that she went into metals and tried out some things. And it's fun to look at them because it's very not O'Keeffe. Some of them are big and frilly and filigree, and she did that for about a year, and then she doesn't do, she stopped doing it after that. But I love this and how it brings the color up on it. This is an extraordinary exhibition, and I hope everybody who's seeing it is taking it in slowly and deeply, because it can't be regathered again in my lifetime anyway. And it's wonderful for me to see O'Keeffe's work up against people that I don't know firsthand. Arthur Dove is here, and Marston Hartley is here, and of course her work is constantly compared to these artists. She knew them, they talked to each other, they found common themes in New York City and out and about in the country. But Lauren Harris, who's just here on the left of this painting, is somebody that I had never seen before. And to see his work in relationship to O'Keeffe's makes me think that they really were inspired in very similar ways, which is that they bring their modernist project with them and then think a deep thought about how they're going to represent that in the painting. So it's not about standing out there and letting the landscape come to you. It's bringing in an agenda. It's bringing an idea to that project. And also, this is the idea of bringing people together from different places in the Americas. Anita Malfatti is another that's just extraordinary. And it may seem a stretch because there's so much brushwork, it's so expressive. But really, if you're in the New Mexico environment, this is as expressive about how you feel there. So with the big wind that you see in Malfatti's painting here, you feel the stillness, which is what happens when you have a long distance view. So it's extraordinary to see O'Keeffe's work between these two artists who are looking at extremely different environments, but I think from a very similar modernist point of view.